Welcome to My Business Matters, the Michigan Chamber podcast.
Welcome to My Business Matters podcast. I'm Jim Holcomb, President and CEO of the Michigan Chamber. This episode is our first in a series featuring Michigan's top business leaders. Today I'm speaking with Steve Davis. He's the Michigan Region President of Fifth Third Bank. Steve had been the Michigan Market President for Comerica Bank prior to their merger, and now Steve is stepping in to lead during a time of real change in the banking industry. We'll talk about Fifth Third's presence in Michigan, the importance of leadership, and focus on Michigan and our business climate as seen through Steve's lens. Steve, been looking forward to today's conversation because I really think the Michigan Chamber and Fifth Third Bank, we're both striving for the same outcome. Michigan, where free enterprise flourishes, government doesn't stifle innovation, and our economy is a vibrant ecosystem where employers and employees prosper. And I can tell you from where I sit, heading the Michigan Chamber, Fifth Third, you're not just a financial institution operating in Michigan. You and your team are genuine partners in what we're trying to do, how we're working together to make Michigan's business environment stronger.
Jim, thanks for having me. Big fan of the Michigan Chamber of Commerce. I've been on it for many years, so thank you for all you're doing.
No, appreciate it. And, as we get into the conversation, the deal combining Fifth Third and Comerica, that was recently completed, and now the process of merging operations, rebranding the branches is underway. And you were tapped to lead Michigan Banks, and congratulations, by the way. That's something that's very positive for all of us. I think it's a testament and recognition of your leadership and community stewardship. But I'm especially interested kind of in two aspects. One, first, what does the combination mean for the general customers, for people in your customer base? And then secondly, what impact is this combination going to have on Michigan's economy and our business climate?
Yeah, so I'll take the second one first, and you remind me of the first one. But okay. the second one, in terms of Michigan, I think the combined entity is going to be great for Michigan. Mm-hmm. Both Comerica and Fifth Third have a very long history. Comerica has been around for 176 years, started outside of in downtown Detroit. Fifth Third has been around for 167 years. So you put the two of them here in Michigan, I think the combined company is going to have better resources for our customers, better resources and products for them, for better resources for our colleagues, and frankly for the communities that we're in, and we're going to be able to do more good for them as well. Yeah,
and your history as a community banker, can you kind of give the listeners a little flair for what is that? How does that?
Yeah, so for us, community is everything, and banks. As an institution, we think we hold kind of a special responsibility to the communities that we operate in, probably more so than any other for-profit business out there. We are very focused on making sure that we do right by the community. And so for us, it's about making sure that we're providing opportunities in the community, giving back to the community, financial literacy for the community, working with our nonprofit partners to make sure that they're helping move the community in the right direction. And the stronger the community is, frankly, the better for us.
No, I think you're absolutely right. If your community is stronger, you're going to have a stronger state. I mentioned your word to use was responsibility. That intrigues me a little bit. Do you think bankers get a bad rap?
I think banks are an easy target nowadays, and it's an easy soundbite to be against big business, to be against banks, to be against a lot of that. I think it's a little bit of a populist theme. I think if most people understood the commitment that we have to doing right for our customers and doing right in the communities, I do think I think we're an easy target. I think we have to earn that every day, but I see what we do internally. We work really hard to make sure that we're doing right by the community.
As you work within your community, you referenced, financial literacy. How is that important for adults, for younger generation, for everybody? Is it something that you actively push, or is it just when you work with your customers to try to make sure they're educated?
Yes, and yes. We have financial literacy programs that we do, everything from pre-K through senior citizens. We think it matters the whole thing. So when I meet with young people, I give them a common line, which is if you don't remember who all the presidents were, if you can't do long division, know all the bones in the body, more likely than not, you're going to be okay. It's not going to affect you day to day. If you don't understand how to live within a budget and manage your money, every day is going to be hard for you. So to me, financial literacy is absolutely critical. There's obviously a self-serving motive in there is that as people are smarter consumers and as they're more financially savvy, they make for better customers for us. And so we do spend a lot of time trying to create, customers that are people that are unbanked into banked and move them kind of up the financial literacy curve where we can. So it is really important.
Yeah, it seems like definitely a worthwhile endeavor there.
It's expensive to be poor. If you think about it, people that aren't good at financial literacy, they pay more for everything in life. That's not a good thing.
Well, there's a negative impact on society because of the use of social services and what happens in communities. It trickles down to everything.
Correct. Bad for them too.
You referenced too that both organizations, you're working on combining two large organizations coming together. There's always a risk when you're merging like that. Something's going to get lost. Relationships, culture, responsiveness to customers. What are you most determined not to lose in this transition?
So there's a lot. I guess there's a lot of things. Let me step back and say, I'll speak more to Comerica than to Fifth Third because I spent obviously 33 years at Comerica prior to the merger. And I believe that we always acted like a large community bank. We were small enough to move quickly, big enough to have capabilities. We're now the 9th largest bank in the country.
Oh, congratulations.
And that's a game changer. However, we still need our customers to understand how important they are to us every day. We still need to be responsive to them. They need to feel like nothing has changed, like they still have that high level of service and responsiveness that they got used to. So I'm really, I pay a lot of attention to that, but I guess I would more broadly say for me, it's always about the 3 C's. It's our customers, it's our colleagues, and it's communities. Yeah. And so even pre-merger, that was my focus. Before we got together, I spent, every day thinking about how do I impact positively those 3 things. And that's what we need to work on now. And so for most of our employees, things aren't changing significantly day to day. Keep doing what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the change for our customers isn't going to happen until after customer day 1, which will be Labor Day weekend.
You referenced an important part of any organization, that's people. And I think you and I both know the hardest part of leading any organization. It's not the strategy, it's the people dynamics. Mm-hmm. When you're talking to your people now and they say, hey, what's my future? What do you tell them?
So as a larger institution, we will have more opportunities. So most of my time up until this point has been spent on kind of the commercial side of the business. So business customers, think business customers between 5 million in revenue up to, maybe a couple of billion, generally privately held. That's the bulk of my day-to-day historically. For those employees that we have at the bank that handle those areas, my response to them is going to be not much is going to change, except you're going to have a bigger, better toolbox on the other side of this to take care of your customers.
Which is a nice thing to hear.
Which is, from like a business standpoint, if I tell them you're going to still have the same relationship manager, the same group manager, the same chain of command, but now they're going to have better products. You're going to have products that you didn't have before. You're going to have bigger, better capabilities. You're going to have a bigger balance sheet that you can grow with them further. Most businesses get that that's a good thing for them.
Yeah. Whenever 2 organizations are coming together like this, obviously there can be uncertainty. There's changes. There's challenges. Fear in organizations is always contagious, but so is confidence. How do you model the confidence you want your people to feel, especially on days that are challenging?
Don't complain down, for one. Look, I have a lot more good days than bad days. Mm-hmm. But when I have a bad day, I've got to be really careful because your team looks to leadership to how to feel. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't feel good about what's going on, they don't feel good about what's going on. My biggest themes for the team is focus on what you can control. You can control, be healthy, get sleep, eat, exercise, et cetera, for yourself. Look out for your colleagues. Keep taking care of your customers. Those are things that you've been doing all along. Keep doing those things. Don't think that they need to figure out everything that's going to happen in the integration and months down the road. We'll figure that out in time, but keep focusing on what you can control. When people start going down the rabbit hole of what they can't control, you start to spiral sometimes, and you worry about things that you don't need to worry about. So it really is about over communicating, keeping them focused on the day-to-day things that they've been doing all along. Don't change that right now.
Yeah, I think you raised a great point there about controlling what you can control. Leading organizations, I've had these situations, and I know you have right now, where it's easy to say, but people tend to go to what they don't know, and they obsess about it, and they really, like you said, you kind of get in a spiral on it. It's about pulling them out and saying, no, let's focus on this, and really give them a vision and a passion for the future.
And the vast majority of the time, the boogeyman that they create in their mind about what's going to happen is way worse than the reality. Yeah. And so we get these fears about, well, are we going to stop doing this? I'm like, no, but we want to be thoughtful and figure it out and do it in a deliberate, intentional manner. These things just take time. If you want us to get good decisions, they take time. If you want fast decisions, we can give you bad answers really quickly. You have to be, it's hard. It's not human nature because you want to know everything, but you have to be patient.
Yeah. What have you learned about your leadership style or yourself through this transition?
What have I learned about myself? I would say I care deeply about the team and my customers, and it's hard. I would tell you, this is the most difficult thing I've ever managed through in my career. I've enjoyed the challenge. For me, I think what I've learned in this one is that you can't always assume what's going on in other people's minds and all that. So it's really about you've got to talk to the team. You got to manage down more than managing up in these situations. And in my situation might be very different. I'm empty nester. My kids are through college. I don't have the same financial concerns that maybe somebody in their 30s or 40s does with younger kids. Yeah. And all of this creates a pressure on them that's maybe different than me. And the human element, you can't forget that. It's really, really important.
Yeah, and I think that's probably, that's what makes good leaders like yourself is you have empathy, you take the time, you communicate, and it's about understanding your employees is what I've always figured out, that the more you know them, the more you understand them. It may not change your decision, but it'll change how effectively you communicate that decision.
And a lot of times, they need to have a voice. They might not get a vote, but they need to have a voice. Yep. And there are certain times when you need to do the things that you need to do for reasons that you can't maybe share, but you still need to explain it as much as you can, and you still need to let them, they need to talk through these things, and they need to, rationalize it in their mind. But
and I think that's how you avoid bad decisions too. I think some leaders run into the problem, they make decisions to be liked instead of what's best for the organization. And they feel like they're alleviating pain, but they're really causing long-term problems.
Well, that, and I'm a believer that the best decisions are the ones that are made at the lowest level, closest to where they need to be made. And so I try not to make decisions for what my groups need to do if they can make those decisions on their own. Mm-hmm. So you give them the parameters and the responsibility and also the accountability. But I think, they make better decisions because they understand the day-to-day maybe better than you do.
Yeah. I'd like to switch gears a little bit and talk about Michigan's economy. If you and I were having our conversation, if we aren't sitting here in this wonderful studio and having a talk on a podcast, if we were in a room, say, with governor and elected leaders and some real, influential voices, and we had an hour to maybe get 2 or 3 things that we really wanted to align upon as a group to move Michigan forward, when it came to you, what are you going to put on that whiteboard to say, let's discuss this?
Okay, so I'm also, full disclosure to those listening, I am on the board of the Michigan Chamber of Commerce. I'm also on the board of the Detroit Regional Chamber of Commerce. They recently published a state of the region, and the theme of that was Michigan's house is on fire. Mm-hmm. I think that kind of says it all. I mean, we need to, we've got some significant problems in Michigan that we need to address. I think these are all very fixable problems, and I think that requires, public-private partnerships with groups like the Michigan Chamber of Commerce, with business leaders, with government officials. But I think we've got some significant issues in the state that we really need to sit down and look at what are the key performance measurements that we want to track, and things like population growth, things like job growth, labor hours, labor force participation, new business creation, regulatory burdens. Those are things that we need to look at to make Michigan more business friendly. And I'm a believer that if we can move the needle on our educational system, which is, most people think we're somewhere in the middle, and we're really in kind of the bottom of the bottom. Yep. We need to improve those metrics, and if we can do that, I think Michigan has. I think where I want to go with Michigan has some immense natural abilities that we should wake up every day and be a top 10 or 15 state economically. Mm-hmm. When you think about the world-class universities that we have, when you think about the number of medical professionals that we create in the corridor from East Lansing through Ann Arbor down to Detroit, when you think about the cost of living, the proximity to international markets, when you think about the engineering capabilities that we have, we should be a top 10, 15 state every single year. And I think we've gotten in our own way a bit with a number of things, and we've got to get that fixed.
Yeah, going with your description, Michigan's house on fire, I think you're exactly right. The problem is I think we're spraying the water in the wrong areas. You've listed a few things, whether it's population or business climate, things of that nature. I think we've done a good job of identifying the problems, but then our policymakers and people of influence seem to go and say, oh, that's too hard. I don't want to ruffle any feathers, so we're going to tinker over here. And we're nibbling around edges, and I think we need bold leadership. We need bold strategies. If Michigan's going to climb out of some of those rankings that we're in, it's going to take people committed to really making a difference. And as we talked about with leadership, you have to make the hard decisions and stick to a plan.
I think being a purple state could be an advantage where we have more pragmatic solutions, bipartisan solutions. I think it could be a strength. In reality, I think what it's caused is a lot of whipsawing of policies. I thought Governor Snyder had a lot of really good policies that were moving many of the metrics in the right direction. But a lot of those policies change every 4 or 8 years, and we can't have that. We've got to have more consistency. Businesses, this as well as I do, businesses want certainty. Mm-hmm. And when you create uncertainty or confusion for them, they behave accordingly. They'll either go somewhere where there's not uncertainty or they just hunker down.
Yeah, my members and leaders across the state have told me for a long time it's about stability. You may not like bad policy, but you can model for it, you can plan for it. It may lead to changes in strategy down the road, or unfortunately some businesses leave Michigan or they don't grow as quickly as they could because of bad policy, but really is about that stability. I'm always interested too, how much could we get done? Because you were saying, a lot of these, they aren't partisan issues on the issue level when you talk to voters. How many things would get done if people didn't have an R or D by their name and we actually just talked about the policy?
This sounds like a Beatles song, like what could be, et cetera. But
a lot of great things.
Yeah, no, I would love to see that, and I do think that we've become hyper partisan, not just in Michigan but in the country, and I think we've lost the art of diplomacy in the middle, and we've created the sound bites on the extremes, and I would be a big fan of that. Look, there are things that I've this is my opinion, not the bank's, but I've said like open primaries, et cetera, because when you have the system we have, the furthest left gets out of the the primary on the Democrat side, the furthest right gets the base controls, and it's no wonder that they can't work together. And we need to find ways to get people that will move towards the middle. And I think focus on 60 and 80% solutions to a lot of these problems, and I think that would really start to move the needle.
Yeah, I was speaking to a group recently, and I used the analogy of a bowling alley. I said you have a gutter on the right and a gutter on the left. Throw it down the middle, you're going to hit some pins, and every now and again you get a strike. And it seems like if we kind of followed that mentality that we can't let perfection be the enemy of good, and we need to be moving forward. As long as we're always moving forward and adjusting, we're doing well there. You know, in my role leading the chamber, I routinely speak with business leaders across Michigan, and I can't think of a conversation over the last couple of years where we didn't talk about technology, where that didn't come up. How is, or how will you believe technology is going to change Michigan's business climate and maybe the banking industry?
Profoundly. And our CEO speaks on AI frequently. We are, I would say, of the banks out there, we're probably one of the early adopters. Our CEO, Tim Spence, came out of fintech. So I think he understands and appreciates technology in a way that maybe a lot of leaders don't fully yet. And we do have, Copilot and a number of other things that our employees can use, and we're encouraged to use it. I think, look, all three of my kids are now adult and in the workforce, and what I've told all of them is every chance that you get to lean into AI, you should do that. Just make sure that you're always between AI and the customer. Don't be on the wrong side, because then you're at risk. But use it wherever you can. I think, is it perfect? No. Is it getting better? Yes. It's a very useful tool. It might not be the solution to everything yet, but I think it can be a very valuable tool that saves immense amounts of productivity, that will help create lots. I don't view it as a job killer. I view it as it's going to displace jobs and move jobs around, but I think it can be a great thing.
And I think we've seen that with technology, across the spectrum. I remember when the internet was first starting and everybody's like, oh, every job's going away, everything's. And I think fear can be good in the sense that it forces us to look at problems, face the challenges, and figure out how to make it work. And you raised an interesting point with AI. You're coming from a community banking background. You're embedded deeply in your communities, helping people. And you've helped people chase their dreams by how you've helped them with banking. With AI, how do you alleviate the fear of customers who say, okay, it's no more about the relationship that you and I have. It's what AI is going to tell you is on a spreadsheet, and that algorithm's going to kick out whether you're going to help me or not. Yeah.
So for me, banking is one of those things that's deeply personal for customers. We do have customers that are very tech savvy, and they want to do everything on a mobile app. And we will provide that opportunity for them with award-winning apps, with great technology. And Fifth Third has some amazing technology. Their consumer banking platform is incredible. I'm really excited about it. But we also need to provide the human element. And so for me, I am a fan of technology that makes the interactions easier. I'm not a fan of the technology that substitutes people and gives people, like you get stuck in these systems that you can't get out of when you want to talk to a person.
Exactly.
So technology's got to help improve the experience. It's got to help provide better answers. It's got to provide more responsive. It's got to provide all those things. It can't be a replacement for the human element.
No, I think when used appropriately too, it can make our great employees even better.
Agreed.
It's just efficiencies.
Agreed. They can get answers faster. They can get better answers. And that's good technology in my mind.
One area where I've seen it beneficial to something you focused on earlier is financial literacy.
Yeah.
AI and technology, I think, has really improved that. I've seen it in my own family and how I utilized it with my kids growing up, or myself, and a better way to learn.
I think everybody learns differently. Some people are, visual. Some people are oral. Some people, need to do it themselves, et cetera. Technology, I think, things like education could be revolutionary. And that's where I think Michigan has some real opportunities, where when you're near the bottom in education, you can be bold and you can try things that maybe other people haven't. And I do think that there are solutions out there that could be relatively revolutionary for the educational system, just because every kid learns differently, and we need to lean into that where we can.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect point that everyone learns differently. So let's utilize the tools to make sure everybody can accelerate. We've discussed a lot about leadership through change, and what I'd like to know at this point, it has nothing to do with the merger of the markets, but when you think about leaders who shaped you, what traits or tactics come to mind? What did others teach you?
Well, look, I've been incredibly fortunate over my career, and I fell into banking very accidentally. So
happy accident.
Very accidentally. I went to school here in Michigan State, did my undergrad and grad at Michigan State, and I ended up going to Chicago for about 15 months, working in a company over there as a controller. Mm-hmm. And when I got engaged, I lost the first of many battles to my wife about where to live, and decided to move back to Michigan. And that was in 92. So if you recall the 91 recession,
yes.
92 was still the jobless part of the 91 recession. And a friend of the family had a son that worked at the bank, said, we're hired. I never expected to go work for the bank. Okay. And so I got really fortunate. Started there, loved it, and I feel incredibly blessed. Over the years, I've been extremely fortunate to work for some really amazing leaders. I try to take a little bit from everyone. With some, you try to take their interpersonal. You have to make everything your own, but you try to take aspects from each of the people that you work for to learn how to be a better leader. And for me, there are times when you have to make tough decisions, and that's unfortunately just the way it's got to be. I've tried to be more of consensus builders, and so I believe that if I hire great people, stay out of their way, help them where they need, that they'll do great things if I don't screw it up. And I've got a great team. I feel like my job is to help support them, help support customers, help support the community. But we've got great people that do the real day-to-day stuff that deserve the credit. I get way more credit than I deserve, trust me.
So chart a vision, rally people to the cause, and support them as they do their best work.
Yeah. I think if you hire great people, they'll do great things if you stay out of their way. If you try to micromanage them, they leave. But we've got great people, and so I get far more credit for a lot of the areas of the bank than I deserve. There's a lot of hard work and a lot of really smart people that are helping our business customers, our retail customers, the community partners, et cetera.
You talked about accidentally falling into banking, and I find that interesting because I think a lot of people find their career accidentally. And I think, as we talk to young people who are listening and we talk to people earlier in the career, it's about being flexible, about being adaptable, and being willing to change. Don't let fear consume you to where you miss the opportunity that presents itself.
I think you need to be open-minded to opportunities, and you never know where they're going to come from. So I started at the bank when I was 25, and I'm always amazed at kids that go into college and they know what they want to do, and I'm like, I had no idea when I was 18 what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to college. That's all I knew. And to think about a career and this and that, I think you need to keep an open mind with industries and companies. When you look at the life expectancy even of a Fortune 500 company nowadays, you look at the velocity of change in a lot of industries. I think you need to focus. My advice to kids would be focus on skills, focus on things you like to do, focus on things that you do that add value, that are needed. Don't focus on an industry or a company. That very likely is going to change on you.
Yeah, especially with technology. Where do you derive your motivation or ideas? And I'm not talking about people within the industry, but what do you listen to? What do you read? What do you pay attention to that maybe shapes who you are as a leader and as a person?
So I do read a lot, and I do listen to podcasts when I work out frequently. So for me, it's about trying to digest information. And the previous person that had my job, Mike Ritchie, a great guy, I think he said this very well in terms of you need to calm kind of the day-to-day noise and you need to focus on getting your information over a longer time frame. So turn off kind of some of the short-term volatility that you hear every day and the chirping, and tune that out. Read things that have more thought and a longer time horizon on them. And you kind of need to spend some time just kind of quieting the noise, think about what's important, think about what the priorities are. It's very easy to get into the urgency and the issues of the moment, but you really have got to step back from that a little bit and spend time with just thinking about a longer time horizon.
Yeah, I think that's crucial, longer time, because I think decision-making made on, as we talked earlier, either limited data or short-term perspective horizon really isn't going to lead you to the best outcome.
No, I totally agree.
Steve, what I really appreciate about our conversation is confirm what I already believe. The Chamber and Fifth Third, we're both pointing in the same direction. We want a growing, thriving Michigan. The Chamber is committed to doing its part on policy and advocacy. I know you'll do your part on capital and the partnership side. And I'm confident that Michigan businesses are going to be better off because we're both at the table. I'm Jim Holcomb, CEO of the Michigan Chamber of Commerce. I hope that listeners will join me and Steve Davis from Fifth Third Bank in making Michigan a thriving state for business and all who live here. Thank you for listening. Tune in to future episodes of My Business Matters, the podcast of the Michigan Chamber, where we bring you the conversations that are shaping our state's future.